Hey fellow beaders, well, welcome to Wild Wednesday. Today's tutorial, I'm showing you how to make these earrings, and they are a fun little earring using the Tango bead. So here it is. It is a 2-hole triangular bead. You guys may be a little more familiar with this bead. It's not quite as new, I think, as like the prong beads were. But here is the bead. Well, it's got 2 holes, and they're sort of in a weird sort of right angle is how they work. So you got 1 hole that's here at this point, and then another hole at the base. So it's almost like someone took, I think, a tile bead and cut it in half along the diagonal. So if you put it together, you get, I think, a tile bead, which is probably what they did. I don't know. I'm just, it's just a guess, but it's kind of what it looks like. So anyway, what you're going to need to make this is a total of 8 Tango beads. So it's 4 per earring. You're going to need also 9 3x4 rondelles. You can use bicones. For anything 4mm will work here. So it doesn't have to be, obviously, a rondelle here. Unfortunately, I don't have an alternative for the tangos in sort of the old beads. But in this case, you can use whatever you got. So, it might be cute with some pearls, too. You are also going to need another larger bead. So this is a 6mm or 5x6 rondelle versus the 3x4. I happen to have them in, pretty much the same color. So, and this is the optional part, so you don't actually need it. But if you have a larger, round or a larger bicone, a 6mm, then that would be great to make the little dangle part. But you don't have to make the dangle, and you can completely just, make the upper component. Sorry, my voice is going in and out. I'm almost over this cold, allergy, whatever I've got. So here we are. But anyway, so if I just kind of fold this back here, you can just make that portion of it. Or if you have a drop bead, you don't even need any of that, but you have a drop that kind of works with the color scheme that you have going, then, anything can work here. It's really sort of flexible. The only thing that you kind of have to have is the Tango, if you want to make the earrings, but otherwise it's, whatever works or whatever you can find. I'm all about using beads in your stash. You guys know that because I do that Sunday tutorial too. All right, in addition, you'll need, ear wires, jump rings, depending on the type of ear wire you're using, needle and thread. So I'm using about probably a little less than 2 feet per earring of thread. 4 to 6 pound fire line is best because we go through the beads multiple times. And of course, beading needle. All right, let's go get started. To begin, you want to pick up 4 of your rondelles and your 11-ohs in an alternating order. So I've got 4 11-ohs and 4 rondelles here. And you guys can probably guess what I'm going to do. I'm going to tie a knot. So I'm just going to, your basic surgeon's knot. You've seen me do this like last several videos actually. And there we have it. Knots in place. I'm just going to go ahead and go back through this rondelle here, and I want to come out of the 11-oh. I'm going to pull the knot into the rondelle, but not pull so tight that it gets, goes further pulled into the 11-oh bead. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up an 11-oh, and I'm going to pick up my Tango here. So you want to pick it up so it's on the short part of your Tango, so you can see the needle comes out, and that's the little corner part of it, versus the base of this triangle here part. So you want the short piece. And you're going to go back around the 11-oh. So, and by the way, if you missed that last part, so I picked up an 11-oh, a Tango, and then another 11-oh. And I'm going to go back around the same 11-oh, and go through the rondelle. And okay, make sure the knot was in the right place. So just like that. So and there it is. There's my bead, and it's just going to sit like that. Now go through this next 11-0, and we're going to do the same thing we just did. We're going to pick up an 11-0. I'm going to pick up my tango, and I want to make sure that it's going in the same orientation. So like so. So I want them all pointing the same way. So this way. Then another 11-0 and back through and around this 11-0 where the thread is exiting. And I also went through the rondelle. And as you can see, I did it the wrong way. So I have them not pointing the way I want them. So I'm going to undo that. Take off the 2 beads. Flip this over. So bring it down, and you can kind of bring it down to your thread so you can see that you're doing it the right way, and don't do what I just did. Now I picked up the other second 11-0 there, and I'm just going to go back through these. We're going to repeat what we just did again, a third time. So I picked up an 11-0, brought it down. I'm going to pick up my tango and making sure I have it in the right orientation, and then another 11-0. And I'm going to go back through the 11-0 here and go through my rondelle as well. And the last part, I'm just going to go through this 11-0 so I can add the last bead, or last group of beads here. So pick up the 11-0, bring it down, and now make sure my beads are oriented the right way. So I'm going to go ahead and pick up this tango, bring that down, and I got it right, oriented it correctly. Pick up an 11-0 and go back through the 11-0 here. And this is what you should have so far. This is very loose and flimsy, and don't worry, we will be fixing that in a second. So continue through to your rondelle here and into this next 11-0 right there. Now you just want to make sure there's no slack in your thread. So these are going to kind of flip around a little bit. They're going to, or flop around, I guess. So you're going to come up, you're exiting out of this 11-0, you're going to go through this 11-0 and come out of the tango. And then we're going to go through this other hole of the tango. I'm going to pick up 5 11-0 beads and make a loop around that base part of this tango here. Just like that. And then I'm going to pick up an 11-0, a rondelle, and an 11-0 and go through the next tango. Just like this. And then you pick up 5 11-0 beads and make a loop around the same tango that your thread is exiting. So you're making a loop around the base. And this is what you're going to have so far. And then to continue, you pick up an 11-0, your rondelle, and an 11-0. Go through the next tango bead here. Pick up 5 11-0s. And go back around the base. And again, you're going to pick up a 11-0, your rondelle, and an 11-0. Go through the next tango. Pick up 5 11-0s. Go around the base of our tango here. And again, 11-0, rondelle 11-0, and we are going through our tango over here. Just like that. So you get this gobbly mess of beads. Don't worry. I'm going to fix this. What you're going to do now is we're going to go into those loops that we made around the base of the tangos. And again, make sure there's no slack in your thread. And I'm going to take my tail and just push it through to the other side so it's kind of out of the way a little bit. So I'm going to go up into the middle bead of these loops here. So so you go through just 3 of those 11-0s. And then we're just going to connect all the loops together. So I'm not even going to pick up a bead or anything. We are just going to go ahead and go through all the middle beads here. So I'm coming out of this one. I'm going to go to just that center bead and this one here. And this creates this back piece that we need. It gives it a more finished look to our piece. So the other reason to do this is it stabilizes the piece the way I design jewelry. So I tend to design components. So you want a stable piece. And secondly, it gives you that finished look, as I said, which I think if you are making the jewelry to sell, it gives it a more professional look to it. And again, I think it'll last a lot longer. So, you sell it to a customer, you don't want them to wear it a couple times and have it fall apart. So it's another reason why I do this, is that when I do sell, I don't often sell my jewelry, but when I do sell it, I do want to make sure that the customer who's getting the piece is getting a nice looking product. So as hopefully you guys were watching as I was going, but all I did was go through all of the middle beads and connect them together. And I brought these loops together. And you can reinforce this by going through them again. So I just loosened it and you can see which beads that I'm just going through. And if you guys follow my channel regularly, you know exactly what I'm doing here. You've seen me do it several times. I do it different ways, but it's essentially the same thing. So this is the back of our component, and there's our front. I think it looks really cute. Kind of gives it a little bit of a spirally finish look to it. And now what I'm going to do is go down the beads on the side here. And I'm going to reinforce this outer group of beads. So I'm going to go through the tango here because that's where this loop is coming from. Go through that tango and then through the 11-0 and the rondelle. And I'm going to repeat that again, or continue anyway. So I'm going to go through that 11-0, the tango, another 11-0, and come out of another rondelle. You almost have a bit of a square, so just kind of going from one corner to the next. So go through the 11-0 now, the tango, and the 11-0 here, and the rondelle. And last time. Go through the 11-0, the tango, 11-0, and you're exiting out of a rondelle. And this, what this does is and you can go through and reinforce once again, and this should give it a nice tight feel to it. So now what we're going to do is make our little dangle part of the earring. And what you want to do is pick up 4 11-0s, like so, and I gotta grab one of my rondelles here. Grab a rondelle, 11-0, then my larger rondelle here, and another 11-0 bead. Bring those down. And what we're doing is we're going to skip this 11-0, go back up the big rondelle, 11-0 rondelle, and 11-0 here. And make sure there's no slack. Then pick up 3 11-0 beads and go back through the rondelle on the other side. So you're creating a little V there. And that creates our nice little dangle for the earring at the bottom. And here it is from the front, so you guys can see. The front. Okay, so we're going to do one more thing now, and you can go ahead and we can go through that again and reinforce it. So I'm just going down through the beads. Then back up. And coming up the other side, so you want to keep track of which side you went down. So you don't want to go through the wrong side. Like so. And then just go through the rondelle. And then we continue onward. We are going to go now to the rondelle that's directly opposite where we placed the dangle. And that's where we're going to put our loop. Beads are getting a bit tight there. So, and here's our rondelle. That is exactly opposite where we need to be. Okay, so last step, we're going to pick up 6 11-0 beads here. And go back around the rondelle. And we're just creating a loop for the ear wire. Go through it again to reinforce. All right, so to tie off, we are going to, I'm going to do that in the rondelles. So I'm going to go through this 11-0 now, the tango, and come out of this 11-0 here. And I'm going to do a half-hitch knot. Just like that. And then continue onward. going to go ahead and do one outside this tango now. There's my loop. Go through the tango and then come out of the 11-0 there. And we do the same thing. Make another half hitch over here. And then pull the knot into the rondelle. And then we're just going to weave a little bit. So I'm just going to go through 11-0 and the tango, and I'm coming out of this 11-0 on the other side. And that's probably a good point for me to cut, because my I've gone through the beads a few times, so it's getting pretty tight. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and cut that. Grab my scissors here. And I'm going to cut the other side. There's our earring. Let's go ahead and add an ear wire to it. Okay, I seem to have misplaced one of my other tools. Ha! Oh, here it is. Sorry about that, guys. It was buried underneath tubes of seed beads. Hidden away. I do have to reorganize my all of my beads. I've taken, there we go. Make sure your ear wire is oriented in the right direction. And that's it. So here's my other earring that I already made earlier. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing here. All right, there we are. So I made some cute little earrings using the Tango bead. I hope you guys like this Wild Wednesday tutorial, and I will see you in the next one.